Hey, Fahamu Pecou.
Queen Jodine, it's a pleasure and an honor.
I'm sorry, Dr. Fahamu Pecou. Please excuse me. I need some getting used to by saying Dr. Fahamu Pecou.
I think it might help if I wore my stethoscope more often.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Shouldn't you be on the front line? Okay, I'm just joking. I'm just joking. I'm just joking. Fahamu, thank you for being with us on the Silver Lining series. I know this has been a rough week for you, but I thank you for taking time out anyway and still joining us. For those of you who are tuning in, if you don't know Dr. Fahamu Pecou, he's a visual artist, just an artist overall, and an amazing scholar, and but addresses his art. A lot of your art addresses and tackles the conversation around Black masculinity and overall just Black culture. And it's always sprinkled with the theme of hip hop. I love it. And I love it, and I love
it's
you.
it's it's my it's my native tongue.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Hip hop is my native tongue.
How are you doing? How are you doing right
I'm
now?
doing yeah, I'm doing good. It's as you alluded to, it's been an interesting week. I had some really sad news earlier in the week, and then today, well, as a matter of fact, last week, my external hard drive that houses all of my work from the last 15, 16 years
Afraid of
stopped
what you're going to tell me.
working. Yeah, it stopped working. Uh, yeah, but here's the thing.
Yes.
Some of the files are in my Google Cloud
Okay,
Drive,
good. Good.
but there's a lot of stuff that's not there that I will definitely need, and they're sending the drive back. I'll have to take it someplace else and try to see what I can do. But in the midst of all of that, I'm doing good, because there's always a way.
There's always challenges. Yeah. Like
Yeah,
you've got
there's
to be
always a way.
challenged to know that you've got the thick skin and you can persevere. You've got to.
Jodine, you've known me probably longer than
Mo-
most people, and losing this data on this drive is a punch in the stomach, but I've been punched in the stomach and stabbed in the neck and set on fire and all kinds of things, and
That's
I'm
right.
still here. So,
I know
yeah.
that's right. I know that's right. Um, we're talking about the silver lining around this virus, but I know this week also you lost dad
Hmm.
um, during this time because of this virus. How's the family, how's everyone dealing with that? I know that was a major blow for you too.
Yeah, it really was, for a couple of reasons. First of all, it was a big shock because we didn't know that he was sick. Like I didn't know that he had been sick, or so to hear that he died was like, wait, what? Um, and it was also complicated because of the relationship we had, and so emotions were all over the place. But ultimately, I mean, you know, I was talking to my younger sister earlier today, and we were both saying the same thing: is that in the last few years, we'd all uh, been working to reclaim or to redefine our relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I have to say it was positive. He would call pretty frequently, and we chat. It would never be like super lengthy or anything like that, but it was something.
Yeah,
Um,
starting point.
and I was also glad that I spoke to him around like March 22nd was the last time I talked to him, which was about 2 weeks ago.
Mm-hmm.
And prior to that, as you know, I was in Morocco for most of the year.
Mm-hmm.
When I got back, when he heard that I was back, he had been trying to call me, and I kind of kept like sending a call to like voicemail and stuff like that because he might call while I was in a meeting, or, things were going on. There was a lot going on. Anyway, I finally was able to take his call when he called me on the 22nd, and I'm so glad that I did. And I think that might have been the last time that anybody spoke to him, really. So, there's some guilt and sadness about, not making more of an effort, but, again, it was a complicated relationship. There was lots of layers to it. And I think we did the best we could. But I'm looking forward to the relationship that we will now have as he
On the
joins
other
her
side.
ancestors. Yeah,
Yes. On the other side. Yes. Yes.
and to
Yes.
be quite honest with you, I've already seen the impact of that. I was sharing with my sister yesterday that on Monday morning, which is when he died. He died around 9 a.m. on Monday morning. Right around that time, I think I had just woken up and do what I always do in the morning. I grab my phone and I start scrolling. And I came across this meme that caught my attention, and I was like, oh, that's kind of dope, and I, sent it out to a few friends, and people hit me back like, oh, I can't read it. It's from a private account. So I had to screenshot it. So I screenshot it and I sent it back out, and, went on with my day. A couple hours later, I found out that, my dad had passed. And I was just kind of bummed out for the rest of the day, just kind of numb,
Right.
But as I was getting ready to go to bed on Monday night, I got a note from my friend and business manager, Karen Mason. And she was like, hey, what's this thing you sent me? I can't open it. So I went back in my phone to get the meme to send it to her. And I read it again. And then tell you what the meme said.
Please.
It says, never. We never lose our loved ones. They accompany us. They don't disappear from our lives. We are merely in different rooms. It's a quote from Paulo Coelho. And when I read it again, when I read it again as I was sending it to Karen, it was like, like this message was for me. And, what made it even more poignant was the realization that when I saw the message was right in the moment when my dad was making his transition, you know what I mean? And I immediately recognized like this was a message from him to me in a language that he knew I would understand. He knew my spiritual beliefs and my practices, and he knew that I would get that.
Yeah.
And he knew that would steady me, So yeah, I've been good until I found out about my hard drive. But it's been an interesting week to say the least. But we're here.
We're here, and I've been following you on social media, IG, Facebook, and you've been staying a little bit busy too, dealing with not only dealing with family and personal moments, if you will, but you're also still sitting on panels. You're still virtually participating in discussions around art and some other creative expressions. What have you been up to, and how are you staying busy and creative during these times?
Well, that's about to be a really long story. But painting for me is, as much as it is my job, it's also my comfort. Like making art, creating is my comfort. So regardless of what is going on, you're going to find me creating and making something. Like that's just that's my go-to place,
Yeah.
So I have an exhibition that's scheduled to open in New York April 30th, but again, because of all of the shutdowns and things like that, it's highly likely that that exhibition will not happen. But I've continued to make the work and prepare as though it will happen. And I mean, eventually it will happen in some form.
Right.
So I've just been working on that. I had a commission through HBO. They just recently launched a series called um, The Lost Children.
Hmm.
And it's a documentary, a 6 or 7 part documentary about the Atlanta child murders.
Yeah, yeah,
And,
yeah. I've heard
and so,
about this.
yeah, so the piece that you see behind me is actually a piece that I created for that
Mm.
commission. You know, for those in your audience who are not familiar with the Atlanta child murders, between 1979 and 1981, uh, over 2 dozen children in Atlanta went missing, and many of them were found later murdered. And this was a national crisis. People didn't know what was going on and where it was coming from, or why it was happening. And it was, almost weekly, like a child would disappear and another child it would turn up, murdered or deceased, in an empty or abandoned lot. And it was just a really, really crazy time. During that time, there was a explosion at a daycare center in one of the projects in the city. That again just really uh, enhanced and increased the tension that people were feeling in the city of Atlanta. Anyway, long story short, a man by the name of Wayne Williams was ultimately uh, charged and imprisoned
Mm.
for the murders. The crazy part of the story is that Wayne Williams was actually only tried for the murders of 2 adult males,
Yeah,
and there was never any evidence necessarily tying him to the murders of the children. And Wayne Williams has, maintained his innocence for all these years, and for the families of these children, they're like, yeah, okay, yeah, maybe he did murder those 2 dudes, but what about my child? Y'all
right.
are just lumping all of this together, but
They just
there's no
do all, yeah, they just pinned it
no
all on them. Yeah.
right.
With no evidence. That's the
No
crazy part.
evidence. Yeah.
That's the crazy part.
They just wanted to get it behind them, and
Exactly.
uh, and so this new documentary uh, sheds light on the case and how it was handled, and the fact that the families are still to this day um, advocating for these cases to be reopened and re-examined, and
Hmm.
to really try to track down who is responsible for these children going missing and murdered. Um, well, my contribution through my artwork was to try to offer a sense of comfort and
Hmm.
peace, as well as justice.
Hmm.
And so I have created an egungun mask
Oh,
that honors the spirits of these children, these
children. Yeah.
missing and murdered children.
Yeah.
And so this is the piece that's behind me. This is a mixed
Oh,
media drawing of
uh-huh.
the egungun, which I'm actually fabricating an actual egungun mask
Oh, wow.
that can be worn and performed. And the names that you see inscribed are the names of the children.
Oh, wow.
And so for me, the idea that these families have gone all these years without the comfort of justice, without the comfort of knowing that the spirits of their children can rest because justice have been served. This egungun uh, can help to
Mm.
bring that about, and to bring peace and to bring comfort to those families, and ultimately to advocate and fight for justice on their behalf.
Ah, that is beautiful. Faham, Dr. Pecou, God damn it. You just be pulling at my heartstrings all the time. I love that. Oh, thank you so much for doing that for these families. You
Yeah.
know, it's nothing. There is never healing when it's a missing person.
Hmm.
Just know
Hmm.
that's a wound that it never scabs.
Hmm.
It never heals. It's
Hmm.
always open. It's always
Hmm.
bleeding.
Hmm.
The blood may not run as quickly, but it still runs. And
Hmm.
so I know that that will bring comfort to those that have lost their kids. I know
Yeah.
that will. And I know Egun will protect and fight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Indeed. Indeed. The at the top of the Egungun are the warriors Shango, Ogun,
Mm,
and Eshu Elegba. You know, and Eshu, as you know, is the um like children are in his dominion, you know. So
mm,
she was definitely going to fight for them, you know.
mm.
So
Yes. Ah, this is so good. Talking about comfort, what what advice can you give to folks that are watching this that are going through their own changes and dealing with transition and things of that nature, specific to this time frame, specific to this pandemic? There's a lot. I'm going through my timelines a lot and seeing a lot of people losing cousins, fathers,
mhm.
mothers, aunts, uncles, and I know I'm burning my white candle and doing all that I can do, but like, what do you tell them from a guy who how to deal with pain and healing and transitioning and you know what do you share with them?
That's always a rough one, you know, because everyone processes grief and trauma very differently. And I try to be cautious uh, because my own approach to these things, you know, it might be very different from somebody else's, and I would never want um, to dictate or impose my views on someone else. Like
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
everyone's response to this time is equally valid, equally valid. Like we don't know what's going on, and we don't know what's going to happen, right? If
mm-hmm,
there's anything that I could say to offer comfort to someone in these times is that we are all in this together. You know,
mm-hmm,
we are in this unknown together. We are in this. Uh, we're experiencing this trauma together, right? But there's comfort in that togetherness. You know what I mean? Like the thing that I think I would hope would uh, give people comfort is knowing that you're not alone, right? And sometimes, you know, in times of great pain or trauma, it's really easy to isolate yourself or to feel as though you're isolated, which enhances the
absolutely,
pain
yeah,
that you
yeah,
feel. But
right.
when you know that there are other people who are there and who are going through it and who are experiencing these things with you, you know, like it could be a source of strength, you know, that you don't have to bear the burden alone, that there are other people to help you shoulder that pain. So, you know, that would be my offering, you know, is that we're all here together and that, you know, we'll come out of this on the other side together. And maybe through this, right? If we as opposed to panicking or to stressing out over what's happening, if we, you know, take a moment to like silence ourselves and try to go within and, you know, try to discover what does this mean for me? Like, what is the message in this for me? When we come through this on the other side, we'll all be better for it. We'll all be
Mm,
better for it. You know what I mean? Like, we'll all come out of it, you know, less selfish, right? Less greedy, less, I don't know
mhm.
what you know, just, you
Yeah.
know, like that, like if you think about where we were a month ago and the things we were thinking about and the things that we were invested in and the things we thought were important. And now all of a sudden, most of that stuff is rendered useless. Like,
Even our paychecks.
you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, we were out there like, you know, balling out of control, trying to buy the latest sneakers and clothes so that we could look a certain way, so that we can give certain kind of attention. You got all that stuff now. Where are you going?
I mean, I've been in sweats ever since.
Where are you going? You know what I mean? It's like
Where am I going?
the things that really matter are
Yeah.
the things that are bubbling up to the surface now, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and those things are the relationships we have with people, you know,
Absolutely.
our connection to the arts, you know, like I saw a meme that says something about, I don't hear nobody complaining about paying artists and musicians what they get paid, because now everybody's watching movies and listening to music
Yes.
and, you know,
Yes.
doing all these things and looking at paintings and talking about artwork and all these things that, you know, people thought of as like, you know,
Miscellaneous,
extra
right?
miscellaneous, you know
Right,
what I
right.
mean? Like,
It's something in the background.
yeah,
But
yeah, but
it's what's interesting is during this time, it is the forefront of what's keeping you going.
right.
It is in your face. It is the moving agent for you as you go through your
Mm-hmm.
day. You have the DJs on. You have
Mm-hmm.
you're going through these museums and
Mm-hmm.
taking a look at what they're providing from a VR perspective. I mean, a VR perspective, and
Mm-hmm.
it's or a 3D perspective. It's just been absolutely amazing, like how
Mm-hmm.
we've been leaning on the arts right now to kind of carry us through this.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
know, the Amazon is slanging books right now. You know what I'm saying?
Kindle ain't never Audible. Kindle ain't
Audible
never
can't
been so
handle it.
high.
You know, so it's, you know, it's an interesting time.
Right.
And you know, another thing that's been keeping me busy is a new initiative that I recently launched.
Mm-hmm.
Even though I've been working on it for 3 years, we finally publicly announced and made our debut a little over 2 weeks ago. But it's a new venture. It's called the African Diaspora Art Museum of Atlanta, or ADAMA for short. And we launched a couple weeks ago, and we've launched with virtual programming that, you know, seeks to build bridges across the African diaspora by connecting artists and curators and collectors and other arts professionals, or you name it. We're just trying to build a community that celebrates and advances and promotes and supports 21st century African diaspora art and culture.
Congratulations. I remember you talking about this. It is
Yeah.
so good to see it actually executed.
Yeah, well, you know, it's we're rolling it out slowly but surely. But the we started with a program called the Adama Art Salon.
Mm-hmm.
So every Sunday at noon, we host conversations across a number of themes. And every week we've been filled to capacity in terms of our audience. The conversation that, the dialogue that sparked from those panel discussions have been off the charts, and you know, everybody's really loving it. We've been, you know, bringing in people from Morocco and Paris, and this week it's Curacao and Kinshasa, and, you know,
Yes.
Johannesburg. Like, we just, you know, and these are conversations that have been happening, but perhaps been happening more so in isolated spaces.
Right. It's been
Right.
fragmented. It's
Right.
not been in one,
Hmm.
it's all been in silos. Like these
Right.
conversations that you guys are having have been all in silos. Yeah.
Yeah. And so what we are doing with the Adama Art Salon is like bringing all of these different voices together around the same table. And you know, the beautiful part about it is that we're all having a similar dialogue and not realizing that we've been having these dialogues, you know. The theme of Adama, the slogan or whatever you want to call it, is everywhere we go, there we are. Um,
Hmm.
you know, because that's been my experience, you know, as I travel, you know, is being able to connect with people that don't just look like me, but that are also thinking about some the similar things, that are also working in similar capacities, that are also trying to overcome similar obstacles, you know,
Right.
and you know, it's again, this pandemic has showed us uh, just how connected we are, whereas everything else in the world prior to this has been trying to, you know, cut us into little pieces and, you know, uh, separate us through geographies and
Mm-hmm.
races and
Mm-hmm.
skin colors and accents and languages. You know what I mean? Like, but it's all the same. Everywhere we go, there we are.
That's so true. So true. Fahamu, I know you've got to wrap up, but I've gotta ask.
Hmm.
Do you see a silver lining here? I mean, I know we've
Yes.
talked about the togetherness. I know we've talked about the humanity, what's been important, and those things boiling to the top. And even you starting this museum now has been an amazing thing and amplified through this pandemic. But is there a silver lining for all of us as we go through these moments right now?
There's always a silver lining. Um, one silver lining is that dirty ass people are washing their hands. But no, seriously, you know, I love in Octavia Butler's parable of the sower, the religion that the main character creates is based on this idea that change is the only thing you can rely on, right?
Right,
God is change. There's nothing, you can't guarantee nothing else in this world except things will change,
right.
you know? Um, and I see this moment in time as a visceral manifestation of that change. There's no way we come through this pandemic without being changed.
Mm-hmm.
The thing you have to decide is if you want to change for the better, you know? And I think, we've seen some of the most beautiful aspects of our humanity come out of this. You know, when D Nice was in his living room playing some records one day and was like, you know what, I'm going Instagram live. Nobody knew, he didn't even know that it was going to have the kind of impact that it had, right?
Right.
There's so many. If I go on my Instagram right now, there's 700 lives,
You telling me?
with with people having conversations and talking about things that really mean something. It's, yeah, you can still get your memes and you still get your laugh on, but there's some really sincere conversations and dialogues happening right now that I guarantee you is changing the way people think about not
Right,
only themselves, but think about others, right? And
right,
that's the silver lining, right? When we come out of this, we'll have a different relationship to one another. Uh, we'll have a different relationship to the planet. We'll have a different relationship to the way we use things and the way we interact with things. We'll have a different uh, uh, a different engagement,
mm-hmm.
and that's the silver lining. I look forward to seeing that.
Me too. Me too. How do people keep in contact with you? I mean, do you mind sharing your IG social channels so that people can reach out to you or DM you or follow you?
Yeah, for sure. I'm on Instagram at Fahamu Pecou, FAHAMUPECOU.
Mm-hmm.
And my website is fahamupecouart.com,
Mm-hmm.
FAHAMUPECOUART.com. Adama is Adama, ADAMATL.org. And on Instagram at Adama_ATL.
Adama _ ATL. Perfect,
Mm-hmm.
perfect, perfect, perfect. Fahamu, thank you for being you. Just thank
No,
you.
no, thank you,
Thank
Jodine.
you for being
Thank you,
Fahamu Pecou.
Jodine. Look, I'll always tell you, anytime I have to do something and they need an interview, I'm calling you because you bring the best out of me.
Oh man, we bring the best out of each other. I've had to lean on you quite some time. But no, seriously, thank you. And thank you for your words of encouragement and the silver lining in all of this. We
Oh, for
appreciate it.
sure. Thank you for doing this. This is a beautiful, beautiful platform, and I'm grateful to be a part of it.
Thank you.